Hello friends, today we will talk about the subject electric power generation. In that we will discuss about thermal power plants, layout and working. Myself Chandrashekhar Patil, Sharad Institute of Technology, Polytechnic, Yadrav. In the lecture 1, we will see what are generating stations, block diagram of a generating station, types of generating stations, thermal power plants. In that we have coal, gas or diesel and nuclear based, large and micro hydro power plants, solar and biomass based power plants, wind power plants, and economics of power generations and interconnected systems. In the first unit, we will understand about the thermal power plants, layout of a thermal power plant with steam turbines and electric generators, fuel and ash circuit, air and gas circuit, feed water and steam circuit, cooling and water circuit. So, what are generating stations? Generating stations convert one form of energy into another form of energy. There are various sources in the nature having some form of energy from which mechanical energy is obtained, which is converted into electrical energy. So following is the block diagram giving the energy conversion basically. Basically the input may be the energy source. It may be kinetic energy, potential energy or heat energy. Different types of energy sources can drive the prime mover, which in turn are coupled with the generator or alternator, and when the prime mover rotates because of the input energy sources, the simultaneously the generator rotates at the same RPM and electrical energy is generated in the form of voltage and current. Type 1 thermal generating stations. First we will undergo or we will understand different types of generating stations and how electricity is generated in different power plants. First one, we will understand about thermal generating station. Energy conversion in a thermal power plant. Coal is burned in the boiler, coal is burned and boiled water in the boiler, water is heated and steam is formed at high pressure. The steam is impinged on the blade assembly of steam turbines which rotate and mechanical energy is produced by rotation. To the turbine shaft, the shaft of the generator or alternator is coupled, so generator starts rotating, which converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. So basically in a thermal generating station, the thermal power plant, the coal is burnt and it is used to heat the water in the boiler and a steam is formed at high pressure. This steam is directed or impinged on the blades of the assembly of the steam turbines, and which in turn rotates and mechanical energy is produced by the rotation. To the turbine shaft is coupled with the generator and this mechanical energy is transferred to the alternator by the coupled shaft, and so generator starts rotating, which converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. In thermal power plants, steam turbines act as a prime mover of generator. So in the thermal power station, the steam turbines are the prime movers, unlike in hydroelectric station where the water turbine acts as a prime mover, whereas in thermal generating stations, steam turbines act as a prime mover. Hydro power plants. In hydroelectric power stations, a large quantity of water is stored in dams. Thus, there is a potential energy. The stored water from the high head is carried down by the penstocks or pipes to the lower head up to the water turbine. This system converts potential energy into kinetic energy, which is utilized to drive water turbines, converting it into mechanical energy, which is utilized to drive the generator, converting mechanical energy into electrical energy. So in a hydroelectric power station, large quantity of water is stored in the dam or at a height. So because of that height or because of that position, potential energy is stored in the water, high head of the water, and that potential water is moved towards the lower potential or the lower head by the penstocks or the pipes, and is directed towards the water in the water turbine and to the water turbine. This system converts potential energy into kinetic energy. Because of the penstocks or pipes, the water head of the water is converted from potential energy to the kinetic energy, which is utilized to drive the water turbines, converting it into mechanical energy. So the potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy is used to rotate the turbines, wherein the mechanical energy is generated, and that turbine is interconnected to the generator through the shaft coupling, and that in turn rotates the alternator or the generator, and electricity is produced in the hydropower plants. Solar and biomass based power plants. Solar power technology are generally photovoltaic or PV systems and solar thermal systems. Photovoltaic effect is the generation of an electromotive force as a result of absorption of ionizing radiation. Energy conversion devices which are used to convert sunlight to electricity by the use of photovoltaic effect are called as solar cells. So in the solar cells, the solar energy is converted into electrical energy because of the generation of the electromotive force as a result of absorption of ionizing radiation. Biomass power plants. Biomass is organic matter produced by plants, those grown on land, and aquatic, those grown in water, and their derivatives. It consists of forest crops and residues, special plantation on energy farm, and animal manure. So biomass is generally the organic matter which consists of plant which are grown on land and also in water, and also it consists of forest crops and residues or special plantation on energy farm, and animal manure like animal dung, etc., excreta that can be used as a biomass. Wind energy based power plants. Winds are generated due to atmospheric temperature differences caused by different areas getting different fluxes of sun energy or sun radiations. Air mass tends to move from hot region areas towards colder regional areas. This generates winds in the directions. In this type power plants, kinetic energy of the wind is used to rotate the blades of the wind turbines, which in turn is coupled with a generator or alternator, which generate electricity due to the rotation by the energy from the turbines. Here in the wind is generated or wind energy is generated because of the atmospheric temperature differences caused by the areas getting different fluxes of sun energy. In some places sunlight may be more and in some places sunlight may be less. So because of that there is a difference in temperature created, and because of the difference in atmospheric temperature, the air mass tends to move from hot region to the colder region, and this gives direction to the wind. In this type power plants, kinetic energy of the wind is used to rotate the blades. The kinetic energy of the wind flowing or the wind direction flowing is used to rotate the wind turbines, which in turn coupled with a generator or alternator. Because of that mechanical energy, or the kinetic energy is converted into mechanical energy, and mechanical energy is converted into electrical energy in case of wind energy based power plants, thermal power plants. So now we'll go in detail to know about the working and layout of thermal power plants. Thermal power plants convert thermal energy into electrical energy. Thermal has a broad meaning: to get the thermal energy by various means and convert it into electrical energy. So thermal energy is nothing but the heat energy. Heat energy is used to generate the electricity in case of thermal power plants. There are different types of thermal power plants. So based on the construction, and which is based on the type of fuel used in the thermal power plants, they are classified into 4 types: coal based thermal power plants, gas based thermal power plants, diesel based thermal power plants, and nuclear based thermal power plant. In all the four cases, the thermal energy is used to generate the steam, and that steam is injected or impinged on the turbines, and that turbine rotates and converts into mechanical energy, and that turbine is in turn coupled with the shaft of the alternator, which rotates the alternator. Means mechanical energy is converted into electrical energy, and electrical energy, we get the electrical energy from the thermal power plants. Layout and working of thermal power plant. Central steam power stations works on Rankine cycle, in which steam is produced by firing of fuels in the boiler. Then it is used in prime movers. It expands. It is then condensed in the condenser used for the purpose of condensing steam. The condensed water is again fed into the boiler. In this cycle, a number of modifications and improvements being made so as to achieve the economy in cost and increase the thermal efficiency of the plant. So, in a thermal power plant, central steam power station works on Rankine cycle, which means that steam is produced by firing of the fuels, or the fuel is burnt and steam is generated in the boiler. Then it is used in the prime movers. So it is used to rotate the prime movers or the steam turbines. It expands, the steam expands in the steam turbines, and it is then condensed in the condenser used for the purpose of condensing steam. So the steam generated because of the burning of the coal, or burning of the diesel, or burning of any thermal fuel. So because of that, steam is generated, and that steam is directed towards the steam turbine, and turbines rotate, and the alternator coupled with the turbine through a shaft also rotates, and electricity is generated. So we'll go in detail about the block diagram of a coal-fired thermal power station. In a coal-fired thermal power station, the main fuel used for the generation of heat is coal. So coal is naturally derived from the earth, and that coal is highly inflammable, and it catches the fire and heat is generated. So coal-fired thermal power plants can be divided into the following main parts: fuel and ash circuit, air and gas circuit, feed water and steam circuit, cooling water circuit. Fuel and ash circuit. Fuel, that is coal from the storage, is fed to the boiler through feeding device, which consists of conveyor belt and crushing mills, etc., and is called a coal handling plant. So here in a thermal power plant which is coal based, the coal is stored in the storage location, It is first of all stored in the storage location, and it is fed to the boiler through feeding device, which consists of a conveyor belt. A conveyor belt is used. A conveyor belt is used to move the coal from one point of storage area to the boiler point and crushing mills, etc., and it is called as coal handling unit. The total system of the storage of the coal and movement of the coal from coal storage location to the boiler location is called as coal handling plant. The coal is transferred through a conveyor belt and crushing mills. Ash produced as a result of combustion of coal collects at the back of the boiler and is removed to ash storage through ash handling equipment. Similarly, when the coal is burned, ash is produced as a result of combustion of coal. So that ash is collected at the back of the boiler and is removed from the back of the boiler. The ash is removed and it is transferred to the ash storage place or ash storage area through ash handling equipment. Air and gas circle. Atmospheric air is supplied for combustion of coal in the boiler through the action of forced draft fan or induced draft fan. The air before being supplied to the boiler passes through the preheater where it is heated by the heat of flue gases, which then passes to the chimney. The flue gases first pass around the boiler tubes and superheater tubes in the furnace. Thereafter, they pass through dust collector or dust precipitator and then pass through the economizer. At the end of, they are adjusted to the atmosphere through a preheater. So, as we all know, for the burning of any material, we require air or the air, fuel and heat. So, atmospheric air is supplied for combustion of coal in boiler through the action of forced draft fan or induced draft fan. So, as we require air for the burning of the fuel, we have to use the forced draft fan or the induced draft fan, and the air is being supplied to the boiler, passes through the preheater where it is heated by the heat of flue gases. So whatever the flue gases are there or the extra flue gases, remaining gases are there, the air is first of all preheated, moisture content is removed, which then passes to the chimney. The flue gases first pass around the boiler tubes and superheater tubes in the furnace. Thereafter they pass through dust collector or dust precipitator. So for example, in the air medium, air is supplied through the induced fan and the forced draft fan, and when the coal burns, flue gases are produced which passes through the chimney and it heats the boiler. It heats the boiler and the superheater tubes in the furnace. Thereafter they pass through the dust collector or dust precipitator, and then they pass through the economizer. At the end they are adjusted to the atmosphere through a preheater. Feed water and steam flow circuit. The steam from turbine is condensed in the condenser, then it is heated in a closed feed water heater by means of extracted steam from the low pressure extraction point of the turbine. This heated water then passes through evaporator and few more water heaters before it is made to go to the boiler through the economizer. The reduced quantity of water is made up by adding water in the feed water system. Raw water from river or canal system passes through the evaporator. It is heated to steam and condensed into water into the evaporator and then passes through the feed water pump into the feed water system in the boiler. So, whatever the steam is produced from the turbine, steam from turbine is condensed in the condenser. So, whatever steam that is being utilized for heating of the boiler, whatever steam is produced by the heated water, it is then passed through the closed feed water heater by means of extracted steam from the low pressure extraction point of the turbine. So here the steam flows from the boiler. When it after it is directed towards the turbine, it then again flows to the condenser, wherein the water is condensed, and because of that and the loss of water is compensated by the river water or the canal water. Feed water and steam flow circuit. In this we have some more points. The boiler drum and tube water circulates steam which contains particles from the boiler drum is further heated in the superheater before used for turbines. The steam then expands into the high pressure turbine and is taken to the reheat boiler where its temperature is increased or it is superheated and then passed to low pressure turbine. From this turbine it is exhausted through the condenser into the well. Okay. So in the boiler drum, whenever the steam is generated, that is used expanded in the steam turbine, and the total energy is used to run the turbine or rotate the turbine. So remaining part of the heat or the steam which is generated is remaining, that is passed to the low pressure turbine. From the high pressure turbine, the steam is transferred to the low pressure turbine and then it is exhausted through the condenser. Cooling water circuit. Ample quantity of cooling water is required to condense the steam from turbines in the condenser and maintaining low pressure in it. If river or canal is nearby, cooling water may be taken from the upper side of the river or canal, and after passing through it, the condenser may be discharged to the lower side of the river or canal. Such a system is possible if ample water is flowing through the river or canal throughout the year. When sufficient quantity of water is not available, water from the condenser may be used either in a cooling pond or cooling towers and reused. The quantity of water reduced in the cycle is made up by other sources of water. So in the cooling water circuit, it is designed such that the water flowing from the upper side is made to flow into the turbine, is made to flow inside or canal, and after passing through the condenser may be discharged to the lower side of the river or canal. So whatever the steam is generated, that is passed through the condenser. So whenever the upper side of the water is condensed, upper side of the river water is made to flow over the condenser, the water or the steam in the turbine, steam in the condenser is condensed and it is converted into water. If the area is such selected that there is continuous flow of water throughout the year. So from the upper side of the river to the lower side of the river, the cool water flows over the condenser and it condenses the steam. If there is scarcity of water during the summer season, the condensed water which is used in the cooling pond or the cooling towers, that is reused to cool the steam, or that is reused to create or generate the steam. Advantages and disadvantages of thermal power plant. Advantages. Initial cost is cheaper compared to other plants. Compared to hydroelectric power plants, the thermal power plants are cheaper because huge investment is required in hydroelectric power plants and dams have to be constructed, power generating station has to be installed. So the cost involved in the hydroelectric power plant is more, and because of that thermal power plants are cheaper compared to hydroelectric or other nuclear power stations. Less space is required compared to hydroelectric plant. In this coal thermal power plant, space required is very less. So because of that, compared to hydroelectric power plant, there is storage of water, there is a dam construction, there is a generating station, there is a different a lot of area is required for the hydroelectric power plant, similarly for the nuclear power plant. And also compared to all these different types of power plants, the coal based thermal power plant require very less space. Coal is cheaper compared to diesel or nuclear. So compared to diesel or nuclear power plants, the coal power plant is cheaper, or the coal is cheaper compared to diesel or nuclear. Can be installed anywhere, unlike hydroelectric plant which can be installed where plenty of water available. So coal plants can be installed everywhere or anywhere required. So hydroelectric power plants, unlike coal power plants, they have to be installed wherever the plenty of water is available with a high head, or more quantity of water is required and dam has to be constructed. So it cannot be constructed everywhere or anywhere, so only it is to be constructed at the particular locations. Steam turbines and generators can be overloaded up to 125% full load capacity. So the steam turbines can be loaded up till 125% of full load capacity, means more than 100%, around 25% extra we can load compared to other types of other types of power plants. Load demand, changing demand can be met easily depending upon the prime load and the different types of loading. Whenever there is more requirement of load, thermal power stations can be run, and whenever there is less requirement of load, then the thermal power stations, some of the turbines can be shut down. Because of that, changing load can be met easily. Disadvantages: operating and maintenance cost is very high compared to hydroelectric plants. In case of coal thermal power plants, the maintenance and the operation cost is very much high compared to hydroelectric power stations. Coal handling and ash disposal is difficult. In case of coal thermal power plants, you have to first of all handle the coal, storage, and also you have to handle the ash produced after the combustion of coal. So this is a very difficult task. Pollution due to heat, smoke and ash. Not only handling is difficult of coal and ash, it also creates pollution due to heat, smoke and ash. Water required to produce steam is much more. So here, in case of thermal power plants, the requirement of water is very huge, and to produce the steam we require a lot of water, and that has to be fetched, or that has to be taken from the rivers or the canals. So this is one of the disadvantage of thermal power plant. Initiation time is much more planned to put for production. So once the plant is shut down or it is brought under loading, it is load is decreased in the thermal power plant, it is very much time consuming and difficult to increase the load in the coal or thermal power plants, because once the we have to increase the load, we have to burn more coal, we have to boil the water, then steam has to be produced, and then it has to be impeached on the turbines, and alternator has to rotate to produce the electricity. So this requires a lot of time after it is, whenever we have to increase the load on the generator. Overall efficiency is less compared to different types of power plants, hydroelectric power stations, nuclear power stations, or diesel power stations. Coal based thermal power plants are less in efficiency, or the overall efficiency of these thermal power plants is less. So this is all about coal based thermal power plants, and here we have understood in this chapter what are the different types of power plants, and in that we have understood the first unit, that is called as the thermal power plants layout and working of which is coal based. here the coal based thermal power plants we have tried to understand. Thank you.